Have you ever noticed how your body responds in relationships? Like maybe you notice your heart start to race and your chest get tight when you don't get a text back. Or maybe for you, it's when somebody starts to get too close and things are too vulnerable and intimate, you feel like you can't breathe and you just need space. These are not just random personality quirks of yours. This is your nervous system showing you your attachment patterns. In this video, I am going to break down the somatic signs of both anxious and avoidant attachment and how you can begin healing from the inside out. Hi, I'm Megan Scherer. I am a holistic therapist and somatic trauma practitioner, and for over a decade, I have helped women understand how to regulate their nervous system, have healthier relationships with themselves and others, and build the life they love. So if you want to learn all things somatics and holistic well-being, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss a single video. Okay, so most of us think about attachment styles as mental patterns, like either I have anxious thoughts or avoidant ones, or I'm totally secure and confident in myself. But the reality is, attachment patterns are physiological. They live in your nervous system. When your early relational environment didn't feel consistently safe, stable, and loving, your body and brain learned to adapt to that. And now those patterns show up in your adult relationships. So this is why you can be mentally trying to convince yourself, like, I'm fine, everything's safe, but your body is having a totally different reaction. It's because these patterns happen in the nervous system. We can't just logic our way into a new experience. We actually have to go back to the core wound on a physiological level. When you think about it like this, like at some point you learned what it took for you to belong. You learned what you had to do in order to connect with your parents or primary caregivers or other kids in school. And oftentimes that meant trading your authenticity in order to belong. It meant ignoring your own needs and desires and preferences in order to belong. It meant suppressing your emotions, making yourself smaller if you were thought of as too much or too sensitive in order to belong. And your body remembers those patterns of contraction, of bracing, of having to hide. So then when you show up years later in adult relationships trying to get love and connection, and you find yourself in patterns of bracing or pushing away or avoiding love or self-sabotaging or getting really anxious and clingy, and you don't know why, like you don't want to act this way, maybe even the person in front of you isn't doing anything to cause you to act this way, but it just feels like a response that you can't help. This explains why. This is why we have to understand our nervous systems when it comes to attachment styles. Okay, so let's talk about the somatic signs of anxious attachment first, because most people who come to me feel like they have some patterns of anxious attachment, although the caveat is that we can all fall into multiple categories. It's usually not as black or white as we make it out to be. When somebody with an anxious attachment style feels like a connection is threatened, their nervous system shifts into hyper-arousal. So what that can feel like in the body and look like is racing thoughts, a pounding heart, feeling really physically jittery and anxious. When you have the feeling that this connection might go somewhere, it's not safe, it's not stable, you feel like you need to do anything to pull them in closer. So this can lead to patterns of insomnia, overthinking, overanalyzing, feeling not settled and not stable in your own body. And what's really happening is somewhere in your brain and body is the feeling, the memory of connection isn't available to me right now, and that's really scary, so I need to fight for it. I need to make sure I maintain whatever connection I do have in front of me, even if that's crumbs. So we're going to understand later in this video what to actually do about it, but you can take some time, maybe even pause this video and reflect on whether or not those feelings are familiar to you. Have you felt that restlessness, that racing heart sensation when you worry that somebody is upset with you, or maybe that they've pulled their attention and energy away? If so, those might be your somatic signs that your anxiously attached parts are showing up. On the other end of the spectrum, avoidant attachment often shows up somatically in the body as hypoarousal or underarousal. So you might suddenly feel numb, dissociated, disconnected. You might feel the sudden urge to leave the situation. And all of this is really done in an effort to protect your system from pain and discomfort. Now that might be the discomfort of closeness, like maybe in the past, closeness and intimacy and vulnerability didn't feel safe because you experienced pain, punishment, or that withdrawal of love. But it could also stem from feelings of fear and anxiety. Like, I'm afraid of getting too close to this person because I don't want to lose love. It could be painful on the other side of it. So then as an adaptive strategy, our system goes into that shutdown. It feels kind of like this full body contraction, like get smaller, hide, or run away. Just get me away from this situation as fast as possible. You might also find yourself feeling kind of like sleepy or foggy, not clear-headed in the middle of conflict or disagreement, or again, when somebody maybe has pulled back their love and affection. And all of this is happening because your system is saying to you, it either feels like connection is too much and too overwhelming for my system, and that doesn't feel safe, or connection is potentially being withdrawn and that doesn't feel safe. So my best solution is to shut down. So why does this matter? The key thing to remember here is that none of these strategies signal that there is something wrong with you. And I say the word strategies because that's exactly what they are. They are strategies that your nervous system, your brain and body developed at probably a very young age to help you either avoid pain or get your needs met and experience connection. And there's nothing to fix here. It's really a process of understanding these inner parts a little bit better, like your inner child, these younger parts, and understanding how your nervous system works so that you can learn to trust love and connection again. So that secure, stable love can feel safe and healthy and reciprocal, so that you can experience the kind of relationships with others that you want, as well as the kind of safe, secure relationship with yourself that you want. So I will reiterate, the real work here is not about fixing what's wrong with you, because you're not broken. Your brain and body are designed brilliantly to protect you and make sure that you get your needs met. It's just that sometimes those coping mechanisms and survival strategies from the past just aren't relevant anymore to our adult present day relationships. And that is where somatic work, nervous system regulation, parts work, and inner child work, and subconscious reprogramming, that is like the sweet spot combination of tools to not just become aware of your attachment style for the sake of labeling yourself, but to actually create change and transformation in the patterns, because you deserve to have the kind of relationships that you want to have. You deserve to have love feel safe and secure. And remember, your body is not the enemy here. Your nervous system is not the enemy here. It's signaling to you what your inner beliefs and conditioning are when it comes to love, attachment, and relationships. It's really helpful information. So that's where we start, is identifying what's happening in my body when I'm afraid that love is going to be taken away or that somebody's coming too close. What actually happens for me as that physiological response, and how can I learn from there how to rewire those patterns? If you're curious to dive deeper into this work, the best place to do it is in my 12-week transformational group program, Awaken Love, that runs once a year. This year it's running in October. If you're curious, you can check the links below this video to learn more and sign up for the program. You can also explore self-guided work in my Core Self course, and I'll link that below as well. I am such an advocate for learning the right tools when it comes to your own healing and transformation. Because remember, you can rewrite your love story. You just need to learn how to rewire your nervous system and subconscious patterns. You deserve to have your whole life feel like a love story. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.